Well, greetings, citizens. I am Fist-25, and welcome back to Fisting Jawa Save the Universe. Today, we're here to compare which is better, salvaging or mining.
That's right, Fist. Hello, everyone. I'm JawaSparky, and our goal in this video is to determine not only which method is more lucrative, but also to go over space mining and salvaging with each of the two ships that can be used for those actions, and how long each of them take.
That's right, Jawa. In addition to the Prospector and the Mole, we will use the Vulture and the Reclaimer. So both single crew and multi-crew.
At the end of this video, we will compare our present findings and give our recommendations on how mining and salvaging compare in 3.18, presumably 3.19, and the near future of Star Citizen.
Jawa and I will each take out a Prospector and a Vulture and average our time spent and alpha UEC made, as well as attempt 2 runs each with fully crewed Argo Mole and the Aegis Reclaimer.
As a reminder, these videos are not a tutorial on how to mine or salvage. We have specific videos on that. Please feel free to peruse our library of content. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video if we've earned it. And make sure to tune in on our live stream every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Mountain on Twitch and YouTube.
So, let's get the intros out of the way and get into it. Up first is JawaSparky salvaging in his Drake Vulture.
Welcome to my Vulture section. I did have some trouble finding anything to salvage, so this trip took a little longer than I have in the past. I started off at Crew L1 and pulled my Vulture. I went to the ship and took off and looked around Crew L1 for anything to salvage by scanning and looking at the signature. Panels have a signature of 2,000 for each, so 2 panels have a signature of 4,000, 3, 6,000, etc. A Titan has a signature of 1,700, the same as an asteroid, so this may be a little hard to distinguish. The Inferno has a signature of 1,850, and the Redeemer has a signature of 2,000, the same as the panels. 890s and C2s don't have a signature, they just show up with the salvage icon. Not finding anything at Crew L1, I decided to head for the asteroid belt around Yela. I repeated the same process, but did not find any salvage there either. I decided to head for Crew L2 and immediately saw a salvage icon that turned out to be a C2. Being alone in the ship, I had to salvage until I had to move the boxes out of the way. I did this by filling 2 boxes at a time. One was already ejected and one needed to be ejected from the hopper. I used my tractor beam to step them into the cargo grid. This process took between 3 and 6 minutes per 2-box trip. The entire salvage mission to get 12 SCU boxes took a little over 26 minutes. Then I headed over to the TDD at Orison, which was my closest TDD. I was not able to refuel there, so I don't have those numbers. I sold the entire load for 92,390 aUEC. If I use the refuel expenses from the Prospector and 400 mining trip, which were 2 aUEC on quantum fuel and 127 aUEC on hydrogen, I calculated a net profit of 92,261 aUEC. Well, that's my Vulture section. Let's see how Fist is doing.
All right, friends. So Jawa and I decided after we got done with all the mining salvaging missions that we were just going to do a fast walkthrough with a voiceover during the video, showing you the B-roll of how long all this stuff took. And I'm sure right now it's being fast forwarded so we can match the voiceover with what's going on. So here are my notes on mining. I took out the Prospector starting at Bygenie Point, which is the station above ArcCorp. I then headed to Arc L2 to go mine whatever rocks I could find in that area. Ended up finding about 9 minutes in or so. I found a 5,000 mass rock It had borates and copper and some inert in it. And keep in mind, this prospector is a stock prospector. I do think that matters. So the arbor, it took actually quite a while for the arbor to crack this rock, just because it's not very good, and the rock had some instability in it because it's a prospector, completely stock prospector trying to crack 5,000 mass rock. That's a lot. So it did take me about 15 minutes. And stock, I mean bone stock quantum drive, stock laser had the arbor. There was no gadgets, no consumables being used. So just keep that in mind. Once I did crack it, I was able to crack the other rocks and suck up, extract the good stuff, and then make my way back to ARC L2 for refining. When I got to ARC L2, by the way, I filled up a 32 SCU, which is the max the prospector can hold, and at about the 31.5 minute mark. The base sale of the ore without refining would have been about 34,000. I put that in there because we pretty much doubled that with refining. It ended up being roughly 60% borates, 21% copper, and 19% inert. For the refining, I used the ferron exchange method. It's pretty quick, costs a little more than the Denix solvenation, but it's faster. The total time to refine was 8 hours 41 minutes, and it cost me 3,845 alpha UEC. After the mining was over, the refining yield, after refining was over, the refining yield ended up being 24.42 SCU, down from that 32 that we brought back with us. So we then loaded that up on a Cutlass Black and flew down to the TDD at ArcCorp, where ended up selling the borates for 63,360 alpha UEC. The copper, which is not worth very much, it sold for 4,310 alpha UEC, giving us a grand total of 67,670 alpha UEC for this one mining run. The total time for actual in-game action of time I actually spent in a ship flying around doing stuff was 52 minutes and 45 seconds. And when you add in the 8 hours and 41 minutes of total time, or refining time, the total time for the entire evolution for mining was 9 hours, 33 minutes, and 45 seconds, or 573 3/4 minutes. That yielded me, after I sold at the TDD, at what I said before, the 67,000.67, 67,670 alpha UEC. So stat-wise, that ends up being 117.94 alpha UEC per minute. Or if you put that in per hour terms, including the 9 hours of refining, it's about 7,076.6 alpha UEC per hour. So that is my mining run. We're going to take that data in with Jawas and aggregate it, and we'll be talking about that in the final section of the video.
Welcome to my Prospector section. I did have some trouble finding anything good to mine, so I decided to get as close to a full load as I could. I started off at Crew L1 and pulled my Prospector. For some reason, the timer started a little before I wanted it to, but that's okay. I went to the ship and took off and looked around Crew L1 for minables by scanning and looking for their signature. Multiples of 1,700 are mineable rocks. So if you get 1,700, it is 1 rock, 3,400, 2 rocks, 5,100, 3 rocks, etc. Borates and Bexelite typically like to hang out in clusters. Not finding anything at Crew L1, I decided to head for another one of my haunts, the asteroid belt around Yela. I repeated the same process to find something good to mine. When I got a good signature, I would pull up to it and enter mining mode to see what the rock contained. Not finding anything good, I headed for Crew L2 and repeated the process until I found a rock that had very little inert material. It took me about 7 minutes to break up the rock and extract it. Then I headed back to Crew L1 to the refinery. I spent 1 aUEC on quantum fuel and 21 aUEC on hydrogen. I could have used the trading console to sell the ore for 4,311 aUEC, but I ended up going with the pyrometric chromolysis. It's a little costly, but it has a high yield and a short processing time. The cost was 1,182 aUEC, and it took 3 hours and 40 minutes, but it yielded 31.99 SU. After it was done processing, I took it to the TDD at Orison, which was my closest TDD in my 400. I guess I wanted some luxury. I spent 1 aUEC on quantum fuel and 106 aUEC on hydrogen. I sold the load there for 9,298 aUEC. My total expenses were 1,311 aUEC for a net profit of 7,987 aUEC. Well, that's my Prospector section. Let's head on over and see what Fist is up to.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about my salvaging run that I took in my Drake Vulture. I started at Bikini Point, just like my mining run. I then left that station and headed out to Arc L2, hoping to find some panels and stuff for salvaging. As I went around, it took about 11 minutes total from leaving the station to hunting those asteroids to find something I could salvage. In all the salvaging runs I do, it takes somewhere around 10 to 20 minutes to actually find something to salvage. Hopefully you find multiple pieces. I did use the bigger scraper module, the Abrade. I really don't know what the difference is. It's faster, and this was a timed run. And as we went along, I actually ended up finishing the 12 SCU, which is not the maximum a Vulture can hold, but that is the maximum the cargo grid Vulture can hold. As far as SCU boxes, I wanted to be fair with the Prospector because we can't put any more than 32 SCU in a Prospector, so I wanted to keep the Vulture the same. So we the stock numbers, stock everything on the Vulture, quantum drive, everything. But finished the 12 SCU worth of salvaging about 28 minutes into the timed portion of this, and then headed back. We had a full Vulture of RMC in 19 minutes. Once that's the total time it took to actually get all the salvage done. It took me, once I found it, it took me 19 minutes of running up and down the Vulture to actually get all that salvage moved out and over into the cargo grid. We made it back to TDD at ArcCorp at about 41 minutes in. That is quite a bit of time. That's over 10 minutes just to get back from Arc L2 to ArcCorp and land and take the bus and get over to the TDD. And we were able to sell the 12 SCU of salvage for 92,400 alpha UEC. Each SCU of salvage is worth, or at that time, worth about 7,700 alpha UEC if you do that. Just wanted to point out that some solo salvagers with some great Tetris skills, some Jenga skills, can yield about 24 to 26 SCU worth of salvage. You have to arrange those boxes just right inside Vulture, and you can leave one on the extraction pad as well. But the most I've ever seen someone do is 26. I usually can get 25 in there pretty easily. So double what you'd actually carry on the grid. But again, we wanted to keep it stock. So the entire runtime of this was 41 minutes and 43 seconds start to finish. Which is pretty good. It could be faster, it could be slower. It really depends on how quickly you actually find the salvage that you're going after, where you start from, all that stuff. but on average, most runs for salvage are somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes. I know that's a big range. That's just kind of what it is. Anyway, 41 minutes and 43 seconds is equates to 41.7 minutes. And so if we do the math, the salvage made 2,214.9 alpha UEC per minute. And it stands to make, if you actually multiply that to an hour from this run, it stands to make about 132,895.45 alpha UEC per hour. So that is the salvage run in the Vulture, and we'll see you at the next part of the video.
Welcome to the Mole section. We'd like to thank Kalis47 and Ripkey for helping us out with this. We started off at Bikini Point and pulled the Mole and took off for ArcL1. We scanned minables by looking for their signature using multiples of 1700 like we did in the Prospector. In our hunt, we did find many singles, a couple of doubles, and a quadruple. Unfortunately, it was mainly inert. We finally found a deposit we were happy with and mined it. The operator in the center turret commanded the process by having the other operators adjust their level at 25% and lower, while he did the fine adjustments. This worked well. Once the asteroid was broken up, each operator scanned the individual smaller rocks and broke them up. Once they were broken up, the operators extracted the piece with as small amount of inert as possible. The whole time, the pilot remained in the pilot seat, adjusting the Mole as necessary to keep all of the turret operators within optimum range and move off to the next deposit when needed. We mined for 1 hour and ended up filling up the Mole twice. We took these loads to Crew 01. Unfortunately, I was not able to refuel. These loads were processed using the pyrometric chromalysis. The first load cost 7,288 aUEC, and it took 11 hours and 23 minutes to refine. It yielded 92.26 SU. The second load cost 11,921 aUEC, and it took 10 hours 39 minutes to refine. It yielded 72.50 SCU. After it was all done processing, I took it to the TDD at Area 18, which was my closest TDD. I made the trip in the Caterpillar, but again, I was unable to refuel. I sold the entire load for 47,010 aUEC. My total expenses minus fuel were 19,209 aUEC for a net profit of 29,801 aUEC. Let's check in on the Redeemer team to see how they do.
Okay, so the Reclaimer salvage run was an interesting one. We tried to do this before, and we had issues with early 3.18, maybe even 3.18.1. In that, when we used the Reclaimer the very first time, we only got it to pop out 2 SCU boxes. It would not work after that. Okay, we could salvage, but it just wasn't actually collecting. And that was with Xenothreat turned on, and we had 4 people in the Reclaimer. It just did not work very well. So we did end up doing it today, actually, just a few hours ago. We invited the org, the B team over, and we ended up getting 7 people in total on this Reclaimer salvage mission. We had 6 in the ship. And so starting with 7 people, basically, we started at ArcL1, where the crew picked me up. That's where I was. There was some shenanigans of falling through the ship and stuff like that. So once I picked on the ship, I started the timer, and we ended up quantuming to ArcL2. We did that in order to keep it fair between going like from Bikini Point to ArcL2, and basically to match what the Prospector, the Vulture, and the Mole were kind of doing. Give us some time that we had to. We actually spent 10 minutes out at ArcL2 looking for salvage all over. If you guys don't know, we have the signature of whatever you're scanning and pinging. If it's in a multiple of 2,000, like if it's 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 6,000, 12,000, that is going to be salvage. If it's Anything else, it's probably a rock. Most rocks by themselves have a scanning signature of 1700. So if you see something like 3400, that's going to be 2 rocks. That's one way to tell what you're looking at when you're far away from it. We could not find any salvage at RKL2, so we decided to bite the bullet, even though we knew it was going to cost us time. We knew there's some salvage out at Daymar, so with 37 minutes left to salvage and nothing to show for it, we finally arrived at Crusader. All the way from RKL2 to Crusader, so that's a long trip on a stock quantum drive reclaimer. Once we got to Crusader, more 318 shenanigans happened with the seat, of course, and desync. The pilot could not get out of the seat. I tried to get in, he tried to get out. Anyway, he had to be forcefully removed with a pistol, and that got the pilot out of the seat. And we were able to fly down to Daymar. But before that happened, we ended up having Crusader security. Of course, they wanted to scan us, and since our pilot was stuck, they didn't like that, and they actually rammed the reclaimer, and they did not survive. So we quickly salvaged that Aegis Avenger. I think it popped out 2 boxes worth of RMC. But then we made it down to Daymar. We arrived on site with about 22 minutes out of an hour left on the 1 hour clock. We did find some wrecked Cutlass Blacks where we were going, and we found some Looky Loo players flying around as well. After salvaging some of the Cutlass Blacks, we then found a C2 not too far away, and it was wrecked, and so we went over the C2, and I headed down to help move boxes so we could get the most in the reclaimer that we could with the time that we had left. So with 12 minutes to go, we started salvaging the C2, and we ended up getting 34 SCU of RMC cargo with 12 minutes. So that was a really good job, and that was just from the top layer of the C2. There was plenty of C2 left to salvage. The timer did hit 0. We ended up with a total of 36 SCU boxes, and we decided to head over to Orison. And it's a little frustrating to do that because the reclaimer has the potential to hold so much more salvage than what we were able to get on this trip. But this is the kind of thing we've been running into just left and right with patch 318. 319 is much better, and we'll go over that at the end of some of the changes you're going to see in 319. And we're actually making a video in 319 about mining and salvaging and some of the differences. However, once the owner of the ship was located and we were able to land at Orison, we sold the 36 SCU of RMC for 270,000 Alpha UEC. It is a lot. That's how much we made in an hour. However, when that is split up 7 ways, that is a 38,571 Alpha UEC payout. Now that's for 7 people. The minimum crew needed for a reclaimer mission is 4 people. You need a pilot. You don't need, but you should have 2 people, 1 person on each salvage turret, and then 1 person down in the processing area to move boxes around so no one gets jammed up and you salvage away. If we were on a minimum crew of 4 people, that $270,000 or Alpha UEC split would have been 67,500 Alpha UEC each, which is significantly more. The per minute payout for 7 people was we made 642 Alpha UEC per minute. And if we just had a 4-person crew, it would have been 1,125 Alpha UEC per minute. Again, with a total payout of 270,000 Alpha UEC per hour. So we'll bring this up and look at some of the stats at the end of the video when Jawa and I actually go over mine versus salvaging. So please stay tuned for that. Well, hey everybody, Fist-25, that guy over there, JawaSparky. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the end part of our mining versus salvaging video.
In 318.
In 318, 318.2 to be specific.
Yes.
We did try some of the stuff in 318 and 318.1. It did not end well.
And we also tried it in 317. So.
Yeah. So our goal here is not to have the most comprehensive database ever, but just an average experience. Mm-hmm. And our predictions were completely accurate. As we'll see in the data here. Let me bring up the first one here. Joe, I have up Prospector mining.
Yep, I have it up as well.
Okay, and I'll just go over real quick. The very top line row was my run, which our runs were very close on time. Our actual action time was about 50 to 55 minutes or so. And that includes leaving the station. We started our timers, as you saw in the video earlier, right as we hit the ASOP. And then we basically stopped the timer when we started refining, and then started it again after refining to, because you have to go sell that stuff. So I was able to actually find borace, 60%, 21% copper, and a little bit of inert, about 19%. What that did, because you'll see our mining runs are quite different in how much money we made.
Yep.
Borace sells for a lot.
Yes, it does.
I was able to gross profit 67K, with, even though my refining cost was much higher than yours and the time it took to refine was much higher.
Right.
My net profit was 8 times the amount of yours. And you can see on the alpha UEC per minute, I'm at 111. And this is a solo. Right. And then per hour, 6,600, roughly almost 6,700 in an hour.
Right.
Where your run ended up being corundum, titanium, aluminum, mostly corundum, which is not very valuable. The titanium can sell for a good price. And here's the difference, guys. I had 20% inert, but I had borace. Jawa had no inert, but he didn't have any of the valuable stuff except a little bit of titanium.
Well, yeah, and then aluminum is, I usually don't even mind corundum or aluminum because, I mean, what's the purpose? But for this, and I think I mentioned in there, the reason why I just wanted to get a full load is what I wanted to get, so I can get some good numbers for us if we want to put, for comparing it to Quantanium and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, borace is number 4 on my list. It comes in at 32.45 per unit. And of course you got Quantanium, but Bexolite is up there as well. So those are, borace is a moneymaker, let me tell you.
Yeah. And this just goes to show you, this is a typical mining run. And there's probably a lot of people out there like, why aren't you mining Quantanium? Because
we can't. We tried.
We actually did. This was not the first mining runs we did. This was an average successful mining run.
Yes.
And the reason we're doing this comparison is because we're taking a stock Prospector with everything stock, right? Compared to basically a stock Vulture. And we wanted to compare them and where we're at in 318. And to do that, you got to have the stock laser. Now, mining has a bunch of other stuff you can do. You can have consumables, and you can have gadgets and different laser heads and all this other stuff. And that definitely helps you mine. But you're going to spend, unless you're lucky, you're going to spend quite a bit of time trying to find Quantanium. You have to be picky with mining.
Right.
The thing with mining is it's very time intensive. It's fun. And it's chill, but to find the really good rocks, I mean, it's weird because once you find Quantanium, then you got to haul ass back to the refinery station and hope you don't blow up. So 318's been very interesting with how that works as well, with seat bugs and desync. And so there is our numbers for Prospector mining. The yellow bar on the bottom is the average. I like to use the alpha UC per minute per hour metric. So together we averaged out about 70 credits per minute, 4,200 or so per hour. Not good. No. Not good at all, but it actually gets worse. So let's fade into the Argo Mole. Okay, so now we're back with the mole mining data, and this was your run, Jawa. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, first of all, I'm going to start off by saying, mining in the mole, it's a lot of fun. You get all your buddies out there. They can talk crap about your landings. And we just have a good old time. And we have a pretty good team that can coordinate really well. But I spent an hour mole mining because we wanted to compare that to the Reclaimer. And I did not find much. We went all over the place to try and find the right thing. And we just mined what we could. Fist has down here, the first attempt at mole mining was done on stream, and we tried to group mine Quantanium with Strock lasers. Yeah, that was a disaster. We ended up blowing up things. The ship was disabled. It was a real mess. So, yeah, unless you have a really, really good coordinated crew, which we did, but mining Quantanium is really, really tough.
Well, and these are people that, this was Jawa, and these are people that mine quite often.
Yeah.
And frankly are pretty good at it. They may not have the throttle that you do, but they're still good at mining, and they know what to look for and the warning signs of things. And I remember I pulled in on the stream right as that rock blew up. I wish I had record turned on because it was a pretty sight.
Pretty spectacular. Yes.
Yeah. So let me go over the stats real quick. This was, so both the Reclaimer and the Mole, we set a timer. Yours ran up, mine ran down, but it was 60 minutes, right? And the reason we did that was because if you're very selective with the Mole, you could easily go past 1 hour, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's ultimately, that's what you want to do. I mean, you're going to be spending 3-4 hours out there picking and choosing the best stuff to mine.
Right.
Same with the Reclaimer. You're probably going to spend 3 to 4 hours just finding stuff to salvage. So we wanted to have a fair comparison. So that's why the 60-minute thing is there between these two large ships. All right, sorry about that. So your refining time. So we actually had 2 refinery jobs for the Mole. Remember, because we went there and then we came and then we refined and came back. What I did for the refining time was I took the longest.
Right. And what we did also is we stopped the timer just so we could get just pure mining time. We did go from the station to what we were going to mine, but we stopped the timer when we headed back to the refinery the first time. The second time we let the timer run. Right.
And so really it kind of gave a break to the Mole. It didn't do it any real favors, but so because the job hours for refining 96 SCU were about an hour apart, I just took the longest of the 2 and I made that the total refining time. So that's how you had a total time of 7:43.
Yeah, and that's about right, actually, because we went back out, we came back, what, 15 minutes later or something? And that first refining job was a shorter job anyway. So we would have had to wait until the second was done at that longer time anyway. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So overall, I don't remember all the minerals we got. We got a little bit of borace. We got a lot of aluminum. I'm sure we got quite a bit of inert. I think we had a little bit of titanium. We had some diamond. We had a smorgasbord. Every asteroid was a P-type that we ran into. We probably went through 20 clusters. I was actually in the center turret for that one because we didn't have enough people to mine. So But overall, after you loaded up the Caterpillar, you made 47,000 in gross profit, which is a very poor result, to be frank. And a very high refining cost of 19,000.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that.
Yeah, netting almost 28,000, which, yeah. So if you were a solo miner, you would have made 37 alpha UEC per minute, or about 2,200 per hour, which is horrible. Literally, you can make more taking out the waste missions, you know, at 30 at 3 grand. Missions. You can make more, I mean, almost doing anything else. And the really crappy part was there was 4 of us there. So you have to split that. When you split that per minute per hour, it's 9 UEC per minute and 561 per hour. So the mole was, and it's because we had a timer. This was, we weren't super picky. We just had to grab stuff and get it refined within the hour time limit. That's why this number's so low, and it's the lowest out of any of the other comparisons we're going to do.
But we had fun.
We did have a good time. It was extremely coordinated. You know, I was the one doing the fine tuning. When once we got into the green, I had everybody back down from 25% to about 15 to 10. And then I did the fine adjustments.
Off,
yeah. And then off. And then we didn't have one issue with overcharging a rock, except I overcharged one Borace rock when I was trying to break a small one. Yeah. And it was just a weird instability thing. And with the stock laser, it sucks so bad.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could have done. It was almost done with the green, and it popped into the red, and I tried to turn the laser off, and it just blew up anyway. So
yeah. So, and then that says something about the stock lasers again. But it was really well coordinated because Fist was in turret 1, as he said. I was in the pilot seat, and then we had Kalis. I think he was in the left turret, and Ripkey was in the right turret. And they would just tell me, "Hey, I need to be closer. Hey, I need this. Go up, go down." And I could adjust the mole so everybody would be in optimum range. That's what's nice about having these articulated turrets. And then I could just kind of rest the mole right down, right in the group of rocks, so everybody would be in an optimum range.
Yep. Okay, so we're back here, and now we have the Reclaimer data up on the screen. We did save the best for last. This is not the last, but the Reclaimer, it was a very interesting mission. We tried it 3.18.1 when I think .1 when Xenothreat was running, and we tried it. We got 2 boxes that came out, and then we couldn't get any more. The ship would salvage, but it wasn't pooping out any boxes, so lost that mission. That was actually crappy because we found a C2 within that hour, and we could have made so much money. But unfortunately, the game just didn't want to cooperate with us. So we ended up doing this mission just a couple days ago. Yesterday, I think, actually.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had, a timer of 60 minutes. If you watch the video, you'll see that we started at Arc L2. Really, Arc L1, and then we flew to Arc L2 to kind of give the mole a chance, right? We searched around for 10 minutes, found 0 salvage, and then we took a stock Reclaimer with a stock quantum drive from Arc L2 to Daybar. That was like a 16-minute plus quantum. So we lost well over 30 minutes doing nothing but traveling. So we did end up SCD1, I think. We found some Cuddy Blacks that were wrecked, and then we ended up finding a C2 that was wrecked. So in the last, I believe, 20 minutes of the video is when we actually did all of our salvaging, about 25 minutes worth. We were able to capture 36 SCU, of salvage, which then sold. Once we hit 60 minutes, we stopped, went back to Orison, and we sold that for 270,000 for that RMC.
Yeah,
we did end up having 7 people with us, which is a lot, and so that split per minute 642, and per hour it's about 38,571, which is what we all got. So it's interesting, you know. We actually made pretty decent money on that for not doing a whole lot. 38 grand for 20 minutes of work, not bad. If we were on a crew of 4 on the Reclaimer, which is the minimum crew you would need to really do a good salvage, we're looking at 1,100 a minute, or 67,500 per hour, which is actually really, really good. And that's only 36 SCU. The Reclaimer can hold so much. The cargo area is so big. I mean, if we were salvaging and we had stuff to salvage for a full hour, we would have easily brought in $1 million plus and then split that up, you know? So yeah, I mean, I know you haven't done stuff on the Reclaimer, so I know you don't have a lot of comments on it, but
yeah,
it's an interesting ship. I think I'm actually going to pick one up next time it goes on sale, which I hope is not.
I probably will too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty cheap for a big ship.
Yep. I was about to say we're going to get to that here in a little bit, but it's for the money it makes, not bad, not bad, and it's not all that bad to pick up in game either. But we'll get to that.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we're back here with the Vulture. Go ahead and tell us about your run, Jawa.
Let's see. My run, I had a little trouble finding salvage. As I mentioned in my video, as I rolled up to, I think I was at around North, and I started off at Crew L1. I rolled up there and I saw stuff outside. But when I got my Vulture, went back out there, it was gone. So I searched around, then I shot over to Yella, the asteroid field there, nothing. And then jumped over to Crew L2. And luckily, within the first couple minutes, I came across a C2 there. And I just started salvaging like crazy until I filled it up. You know, salvaging is a new loop, and I really enjoy doing it. It's just peaceful. You're not just sitting there doing one thing like you are mining. You have to actually get up out of your seat, go downstairs, pull out your multi-tool, move boxes. It's actually really cool. You know, I didn't make as much as Fist there. No, it's not. Oh, no, that was the other one. Sorry, I took a little extra time than Fist. But what I like about it, it's you make 92,000 every single load.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my run was shorter than your run because I found salvage first. I think realistically, you're looking at about 30 to 60 minutes for an average salvage run. Mm-hmm. We both kept our SCU at 12, even though the Vulture can technically hold more. We wanted to keep it fair because you can't hold more with a Prospector. 32 is your max, so we just wanted to do the 12. Mm-hmm. Our sale price was really, really close. I think we were only off by 10 alpha UEC together. So it's a really good split there. Basically 7,700 per RMC SCU. And because my time was 21 minutes less, I made more per minute and per hour. Right. But I think the average of our two runs together represents a really, really fair comparison.
It does.
About what you're going to make. Yeah. So that yellow average box you'll see up there.
Right.
I think that's a really good average, right? So 1,800 alpha UEC per minute, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And about 111,000 alpha UEC per hour. And that's just with 12 SCU, guys.
Jim.
I could have definitely spent another 20 minutes salvaging to make Jawa's time and probably gotten another 12 boxes. So,
Oh yeah. And they'll fit in there too.
They will. Yeah. I think 26 was the most I've ever heard of getting in there.
Yeah.
I've only ever done 25, but
yeah.
What a moneymaker salvage is. And
and that's quick money too. That's not like mining where you have to go to the refinery and wait. That is, you fill it up, you go down to a TDD, you sell it, and you go back out at what you want, or you can go spend the money.
Yeah. It's easy money. I'm sure in the future it'll get harder, but right now, easy money. It's chill. It's fun to do. It's a new mechanic. The animation and the graphics of doing it is really neat. And that's just the hole scraping. I can't wait till we're going to start munching stuff and, you know, even increasing even more. We're going to have to start the Sanford and Son JawaSparky salvage, you know, with the SRV, and how I'm really starting to see how all these loops are starting to tie together.
Yep.
Mining, salvaging, you know, crafting, all that stuff's going to start tying in.
Right.
So pretty special.
Yep.
So now, guys, we're going to move on to the pros and cons section. So let me get that set up. Okay. So now we are back with the pros and cons of prospector mining, and there actually is more, so I will be scrolling. But what we see now, let's go over the pros. The prospector is actually good solo money.
It is.
It really is. You can make good money doing solo work, and that's while it's not as fun as doing it with a group, it is good money.
Yeah.
It's very chill. It's a very relaxed. Hey, let's just chill in the prospector, put on some Spotify, have a good time.
Yep.
Put on a Netflix or something while you're mining. Just pay attention so you don't blow up your ship.
Yeah.
It's a size 1 ship, so most parts are cheap, mostly. It can get expensive a little bit when you start putting in gadgets and filter XLs and buying new lasers and things like that. So,
yeah.
It does have living quarters, so you can, when it works, log out in space if you need to. And it does have a short claim time. Because it's a small size 1 ship, and it has decent storage, internal ship storage. It's actually pretty good.
Right.
So you want to go over the cons, Jawa?
Yeah. You know, I love the Prospector. That was my first moneymaker in the game, and I've gotten really good at mining. So, but there are some cons about it. It has a small SCU. It is you're not able to get that much into it. Eventually down the road, maybe when you'll be able to take the bags off and throw them in another vehicle or something, that'll be nice. But you're only getting 32 SCU. Be nice to get a little bit more. Refining times. That's with all mining. You have refining time and a refining cost. So you have to wait that time and you have to pay that money. As we spoke about earlier, it needs upgraded lasers. With the stock lasers, you're not going after Quantanium. You're not going to be breaking up some of the bigger rocks. You need consumables. The consumables I usually use is the Surge. Sometimes I'll throw a Lifeline in there, or an Optimum, but the main one that I use is the Surge. And I missed that while doing this. And we put in here needs gadgets. Those things are kind of cool. And just kind of an extra gameplay loop. But those are helpful as well. Quantanium is very rare. And we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but it's going to even get more rare, I think. The Prospector is not good stock. With the Quantum, with everything, it is not good stock. I have a very, very modified Prospector that I fly when I'm out there making money. We talked about the refining costs, and it is a size 1 laser. and so that you can only track up to certain size rocks unless you get really good using maybe some gadgets or the surge. That really helps out. So again, I love the Prospector, but those are the drawbacks.
What's your favorite pro and your worst con on the Prospector?
Okay. Good solo money and chill. You mentioned put on some Spotify and chill. That's exactly what I do. I have a tough day at work. I go mining. Let's see. Con. I'm not worried about refining costs or refining time because I just put stuff in there until I have way too much and then do that. Let's see. No, I don't mind the SCU. I guess it would be the SCU. I wish it would be like 50. Yeah. How about you?
I think my favorite is that, yeah, it is good. It is good solo money and it's chill. Those two together, my favorites. I am a very impatient person. So
no.
Yeah. Imagine that. But anything tied to time, I get frustrated with. So refining time, finding the good materials, finding, man, something, when you find a nice rock, but you don't have the right consumables, or you forgot gadgets, or you don't have the right laser head or whatever, and you just can't crack it. Right. It took me 20 minutes to crack that 5,000 mass rock with borays. Yeah. I paid out, but it took forever to crack it with the stock laser. Now, sure, I could put a lancet on there, have consumables. All that stuff costs money. I think my most negative, which we didn't put in here, is when you lose your ship, and this is going to start happening in the future. Yeah, you
lose everything.
You lose you're not, I don't think right now you lose mining heads, but in the future you will. And you lose all your consumables. Yeah. Filter XLs are not cheap.
No, they are not.
The game has so many bugs right now. I don't think we should be getting a little crazy on losing components. I know it's all funny money. It's going to get wiped in the future or whatever, but man, I put a lot of time into getting, doing other things so I could afford to put components on the ship, and an invisible asteroid comes up and boom, I lost the ship, I lost my armor, I lost all this stuff, and now I got to go get new stuff, and it's frustrating. So,
or if you're out bopping around and you go, oh, I'll just claim my Prospector from one station to this one, you lose all your consumables when you do that as well.
Claiming. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the mole mining. Okay, so now let's take a look at the mole mining.
All right.
Go ahead and do the pros. I'll do the cons.
All right. It's fun group mining. I had kind of one of those days, but then we all jumped in the mole and we went out and shot the video, and it was just fun talking with the guys, coordinating, getting some beautiful outside shots. It was great. The mole is cool looking. I feature it in the intro for Java with Jawa. It is a neat looking ship. It's not MISC, so it doesn't look like a man's body part. So and yeah, it's a good looking ship. Let's see, it has a group laser buff. What that means is in my mole, I have Helix and I have 2 lancets. And if we have a big rock, a big quantanium rock we're trying to break, the center guy has the Helix on it. The other 2 are just stabilizing it with the lancets. So that really, really helps. They are size 2 lasers, so they have a little more oomph. It has a much larger capacity at 96. And it has crew quarters. It has a nice little dining area. And one of my favorite things with it is each laser can scan. So I'm scanning as the pilot, and each turret operator can scan as well. which makes it helpful. And it has lots of onboard storage for stuff as well. So those are the pros on the Mole. Well, how about some cons there, Fist?
Anybody who's ever been on a Mole and had 3 different people trying to crack Quantanium can tell you that you do need a lot of coordination. You definitely have to have someone in charge of the mining and, you know, telling other people what to put their lasers up to and who's going to do the fine adjustments, things like that. When you say lasers off, everybody lasers off, you know, and back the ship away. That kind of stuff has to work pretty flawlessly to get the bigger rocks and to make the bigger money. While it is awesome looking and it's not MISC, it does fly very slow. It's a slow ship and it's very clumsy as well. It's not agile at all. But it's not as bad as the Reclaimer. So it does have a higher fuel cost, although that's pretty negligible. I don't think the fuel cost is something to worry about too much. It does take longer to claim the Mole. I don't remember the time right offhand, but it is significantly longer than a Prospector. Because you're carrying 3 times the amount of a Prospector, it does take longer to refine, which costs more time and it costs more money to refine. And so when you do that Denix solvenation, I mean, you're looking at over a day, sometimes 2 days to get that thing refined.
3 days. 3 days.
3 days, yeah. It's hard to find good minerals. That's not just a con of the ship. That's a con of the game. And the good minerals should be scarce, right? They can't just be all over. But I think they're a little too scarce sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make them more abundant and let us use our skills to crack it and get to the good stuff. And use our consumables like filters and stuff so we don't suck in so much inert. Let that be the way to manage the mining rocks economy instead of just making stuff that you can't find, in my opinion. The stock lasers, again, just like the Prospector, they suck. They're freaking horrible. Arbors, get rid of them. Just like Prospector, the Mole, you need consumables per turret. Whatever you're going to use, passives, actives, you're going to need them, especially with the harder rocks. As we have tried numerous times, you just really can't crack Quantanium with stock lasers. You can crack it if the rock is small. It can be done. You're probably going to end up overcharging and blow up the rock, though, which could blow up the Mole. It is required that you use a ladder to go up, as anybody using a ladder in 318.2 on a moving ship knows. You can clip through the ship, whether you're at the top or the bottom of the ladder. So if you're gonna use the ladder, wait till you're
careful,
stopped or something. Yeah, that's not really an issue with the ship, although it does take longer and it's not as cool to use a ladder. I just kind of wish that elevator would just go up to where the crew eating area is. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. Make a ladder to go down to that area. Make that a storage area or something. I don't know. Stock components. It is a size 2 ship, and the stock components that it comes with are not good. So, especially if you're going to start mining Quantanium, you're going to want to invest in a faster quantum drive, stuff like that. And those parts can be expensive. You're going to be a big target, and so you're not really going to fight off a lot of people in a Mole. You're just not going to. Or a Vulture, or a Prospector. Reclaimer is a whole different ball of wax, but you're not going to be fighting a lot of people. You're not going to survive, especially a PvP encounter. So those parts are expensive. Getting shields for that thing is expensive. Getting, once coolers matter, again, those are expensive parts. Power plants, all that stuff. So the costs do add up, but once you've paid for them, then it's pretty nice. All right, let's move on to the Reclaimer. All right, we're back for the Reclaimer pros and cons. I'll go over the pros, Jawa.
Okay.
The Reclaimer, it's a massive ship. That is kind of rule of cool type stuff. It's huge, and that is cool. It has a lot of area to move around in. I would say space-wise, it's as big as a Carrack. I would say it even rivals an 890 just because there's so much open space, and that's cool stuff. There is a lot of future tech that's coming out. Munching is one of them. That is a big plus of the Reclaimer. You're not just going to hull strip in the future. You're going to hull strip, and then you're going to throw that, pull the claw out and toss that thing inside the muncher and be able to make even more money with the Reclaimer. So it is a money-making machine. I think one of the pros is a large crew size. And that could also be a con, but it has the ability to, I think, crew up to really 7, even more people if you are munching and hull stripping, and if you run into bad guys, stuff like that. There's a lot to do, and if you have a nice org or an org that can fill up a Reclaimer, you guys can make some serious money if you team up correctly. There's so many pros on here. It has captain's quarters. Only a few ships have captain's quarters. This is one of them. It has its own lunch facility, so it actually has a dining facility and crew quarters, as well as captain's quarters. Only a few ships have those. And those, I think, are features of larger ships, right? The full restroom thing. Recreational area. It does remind me of the Nostradamus, if that's the name of it, in Alien. It's a very aliens type of ship.
Alien-esque.
Alien-esque. It has a drone room, which drones don't work yet, but that's in the future. That's freaking awesome because you're going to be able to use drones to go help find salvage and stuff. It has things like a gravity generator in the ship, right? That's freaking awesome. There's an engineering station when you go down to the subdeck. Anybody who's played that mission where you got to turn gravity off to get to the captain and stuff, that's part of the coolness of this ship. It has a docking collar, so it will eventually be able to dock with other ships like that. It also has airlocks. It's got 2 different elevators in it. It's got subdecks. It's got absolutely massive amounts of storage where you have the cargo grid where you could put RMC, but you could also just stack boxes on top of boxes on top of boxes. I mean, I think the cargo is 180, but you could easily put, with both cargo decks, 1,000 SCU boxes in there. The ship is actually very well armed. It's got size 5s on it. It's got size 3 remote turrets on it. It's got a man turret. It's got size 3 shields, right? And that's survivability is really, really good as long as you have the right crew. It is not that expensive. It's what, $350 real life, standalone price. A Carrack is 600 plus, right? An 890 is $1,000. Reclaimer, $350, guys. It looks awesome. It looks like a giant tick, or it has like a thorax, right? And the way the landing gear kind of comes up and it lifts off like its feet. It's awesome. It has the ability, and this is true with the Vulture too, you can craft with it. The only crafting in the game right now to make multi-tools, to make attachments for your multi-tools, you can do that without having to buy them. Just go salvage some stuff. It is a fun group mechanic that has a lot of room to grow. And it has a lot of onboard storage because it is such. Now, there are some cons. Why don't you hit the cons, Jawa?
Well, you mentioned one of the pros for it. It's a massive ship. Okay? That's one of the cons. It's a massive ship. If you're not 100% used to it, you're going to get lost. Now, along with it being massive, it's hard to move. It is not, I'm not even going to try and use the word nimble. It is Very, very sluggish. It's a big ship, and you're moving around a lot of weight there, so it's it is really hard to maneuver.
It falls. It falls everywhere it goes, even on a moon. It's hard to keep the VTOL going. It's the only ship I've ever capsized landing into Hurston. Remember that the video? If you watch my review, it flipped over, and it was just the wind that flipped it over. Yeah. Crazy.
And I've seen other times where they've flipped them over, and it kind of sits there with its legs sticking up in the air. It's kind of pathetic. But the stock components suck, okay? There's only a couple ships out there that stock components aren't too bad. This is not one of them. The stock components suck. Signage, forget about it. The signage sucks. You finding where to go in the ship without knowing the ship it's an ordeal. So the signage sucks.
No, hold on. It's not as bad as a Starfarer.
Oh well, no. Well,
it's about as bad as a Caterpillar.
Yeah, at least a Caterpillar has signs on the doors to say what it is, you know.
Well, this has that too. It has that too. It is an Aegis ship, but not great signage. And really, it's the elevator. I don't like what they name the floors. It's a little bit misleading, somewhat, if you don't know the ship and what it's doing.
Right. So, so learn your ship. Expensive components. This is a big ship. It's bigger parts, bigger sizes. You're gonna have to pay more to land, more to outfit it with what you need to be able to get. Long claim time. It takes forever to claim it, even expedited. And it'll cost you quite a bit of money to expedite it, but it takes a long time to claim it. We've already gone over. It's hard to move. It sucks to land too. You heard Fest say that even under VTOL, it falls out of the sky. It's a huge target, just like the Mole. It's actually bigger, a lot bigger than the Mole, so it makes it a bigger target. But as Fist did mention in the pros, at least it has some defenses. It can arm itself, and it has those 3 size 3 shields. Now, as part of the game, the salvage can be kind of hard to find sometimes. You're just when salvage was first introduced in the PTU, they had like ship graveyards. Well, no, not in 3.18. There's no ship graveyards. So 3.18.2. And unfortunately, you cannot scan with the salvage turrets the same way you can with the Mole. So the only person that can scan in the Reclaimer is the pilot. So, but if you notice, a lot of these cons, it's because it's a big ship. So, but those are some of the cons that I have about it. So, do you have anything you want to add, Fist, or?
No, I think it pretty much covers it. I think out of all the 4 of the ships reviewed here, it's the coolest one, and it has the most potential, but it also has the longest to go as far as getting that tech in there for this stuff to work with munching, drones, just the basic mechanics of using engineering functions. When this ship gets under attack and stuff, the last thing you want is to spend 5 hours salvaging, and then you have a fire on your salvage processing tech or something. You know? Yeah. And it's over an hour. I think it's over an hour claim time. So, there's so many upsides. There are some real serious downsides, and and it's the only ship I've ever flipped. All right, let's move on to Vulture Salvage. Okay, so we're back here with Vulture Salvage. I'll go ahead and knock out the pros.
Okay.
By far, the best moneymaker in patch 3.18, and I suspect in 3.19 as well. Just oodles of money. So if you are wanting to buy a ship in game, and you don't have a Vulture, get one. Because if you want to try out other ships, get one, because you're going to make a lot of money to do that, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So, Jawa and I both think it is a good looking ship. I like Drake styling inside and out. Well, some people love it, some people hate it, but I like it. So I think the styling's good. It is a solo ship. You can have another person in there moving boxes, but it's not that hard to just pop down the ladder and go move the box yourself. I would say if you're playing, if it's like Jawa and I are playing, we're going to take out each of our own vultures, and we may mine in the same area together, but we're probably not going to just help each other out. We're just going to try to maximize our money doing that stuff. The way we would help each other out would be maybe I take a different ship and I scout and I try to find salvage while because you know it's still a pretty slow ship. And I can take a faster ship, go scout. Hey, come to me. Yeah. Here's a bunch of salvage. So here's a C2. You know.
Yeah, that's actually what we do with the org. It's our scouts are also in fighters, so they can defend us if needed.
It has a shoilet and it has a bed. So just like Prospector, every one of these ships is self-sustaining out in space with bathroom facilities, which will matter soon, hygiene, and the ability to sleep in space and stuff like that. It has an alternate entry. You don't have to come in through the back. And if you fill up that entire cargo area, you're going to have to enter and exit from the right to the left of the pilot seat anyway. It has the only ladder mechanic that's external of a ship that actually works right now. It is, along with the Reclaimer, the only ship that has crafting capability. It does have a quick exit, getting off right next to the pilot seat. It is very chill. I think that's probably one of the biggest whole things about the salvage mechanic is that it's mining's chill, but salvage is even more chill. And I think you can really hear better when you're salvaging too. So if something comes along, I think you're going to notice it quicker and better. The only downside to that is when you're down there moving boxes around, no one's in the pilot seat. So there is that risk reward there. Salvage is a fun and a new mechanic where everybody's still in the honeymoon phase with it. It will change in the future. It will change, probably pretty drastically. When I first came into the game, 3.8.2, mining, there was no salvage. It was just mining. There was no refining. Right, you just went, you mined, you dropped it off of Port Olisar or wherever, and sold it, and went back out. And I was making tons of money. That changed. Refining came in, consumables came in, gadgets came in. So it will change. The ship is small and it's fairly agile, but it is slow. So while it's probably up there with the Prospector as far as agility goes, it is still slow. The salvaging, whatever, the scrapper modules, the scrapers, that you're able to put that in gimbal mode so you can keep the ship fixed and then you can just move those around versus moving the ship around, which you could also do, mining as well. It's kind of like a rock. It has decent internal storage. You can load 26 plus SCU if you Tetris everything just right. And if you're good at Jenga, you're probably good at doing that stuff. You can load more boxes than just 12 in there. I did a 25-minute run the other day off of Yella, and I was able to load 25 boxes in. I made just under 200 grand in about 25 minutes. No refining. And Jawa, he added this one in. It has cool paints. It has the ghoulish green. It does have some cool paints, but yeah. It is one of the few that has the ghoulish green, yeah. Why don't you hit up the cons?
All right. First and foremost, the lights suck. Come on, Drake.
Horrible.
I mean, what do you do? It looks like somebody blew out the candle in the lamp. I mean, it's, come on. I mean, my studio lights here are more powerful than the lights in the front of that thing. It should have much more powerful lights, because you're getting into some of these places and it's dark, and you need to see what you're salvaging. So, depth perception with the salvage heads. It's easy to bump into things if you're not looking at your distances. So, yeah, that depth perception is a little tough. It's a weak ship. It doesn't take too many hits. I've been out salvaging and I've gotten attacked by somebody, and it doesn't hold together as well as some of its other Drake coparts. Stock components, they're not great. They do have a scraper module that you can upgrade to. There is a third one. It goes a little bit faster.
That'd be the
it
trawler.
Has small, yeah, the trawler. Yep. It has small landing gear. And what I mean by that is the landing gear doesn't go down far from the bottom of the ship. And so if the place isn't perfectly smooth where you're going to land, you're going to get high centered. And if you get yourself high centered in a certain way, you're not getting back in the ship after you've gotten out. You have to have somebody kind of give you a ride on the nose of their ship to get back in. And the 12 SU grid is small. Granted, if you're good at Tetris and Jenga, you can fill the thing up with boxes and get much more than the 12 in there. But yeah, that 12 SCU grid is small. So, but there's not many cons to it. I mean, when Fist and I were coming up with these cons, we really had to dig. The bad lights, though, come on, guys. I mean, it really needs to be improved.
Yeah,
I mean, the Pisces has the best lights in the game, though, I think. So take the Pisces lights, put them on the Vulture.
I would say the Car-2-All.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That thing can light up a moon from space.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to move on to the last part of the video. I know you guys have been here for about 45 minutes or so. We're going to finish this out, and thank you for watching so far. We're almost done, so just hang on. Okay, guys, so we are here to talk about the final part of the video, 319, the future of mining and salvage. You know, when we recorded these intros like a month ago, 318 is such a bad patch. It's the best and the worst patch I've ever seen in Star Citizen. So much cool stuff is part of 318. Gen 12 renderer stuff, PES, the introduction of Salvage, the Vulture. I mean, there's so many cool things about it. But it is, performance-wise, it's by far the worst patch. And granted, it's going to take a while to get bugs ironed out stuff. It has gotten remarkably better. And 319 is looking to be even better. It's really going well. But I'd like to at first talk about salvage changes we're going to see in 319 before we talk about the plethora of mining.
Yeah.
So salvage has missions in 319. One of the big cons for both ships was it's hard to find salvage. Well, now you can pay to find salvage, and it starts low and it gets better as you go along. There is risk of pirates and stuff like that. So you're probably, for the bigger missions, you're probably going to want to bring friends to help you out. Some of those missions are illegal, but it's guaranteed salvage, right? You're going to make a bunch of money, way more than it costs just to get the coordinates. So that's coming. I don't see any other real changes to salvage in 319 besides the missions. What about you, Joe? Do you see any other changes?
No, I really haven't seen any or heard about any changes. It doesn't mean there's not something that we don't know, but I have not seen anything for salvage / mining. Everything I've seen is mining related.
Yeah. So let's move on to mining. What are, off the top of your head, because there's so many changes coming to mining, what is changing in mining in 3.19?
Let's see. They are redoing all the lasers. They are redoing a lot. They're redoing the consumable stats. I'm sure they're going to mess with the gadgets. They are going to be a little more thoughtful on what minerals go where in what areas. So all of the research that I've done on the type of asteroids and what's in each asteroid, hopefully that hasn't changed too much. I
think it has.
Yeah. There is. I think that they've nerfed the Prospector if you're group mining with another person in a Prospector, which I don't think is too cool because, hey, you're doing coordinated gameplay. You're working with other people. With our team, we've had 4 Prospectors on rocks before to break them up. And you got to coordinate them the same way you do with the mole. But instead of splitting the profit, everybody can suck up their own and take it back. And everybody gets their own profit. And we leave somebody on station so we can fly back to pick up more. So, there's a lot of changes. Can you think of anything more?
Yeah, so what you were talking about was there is a debuff to instability of a rock. If you put more than one Prospector on it, the instability of the rock goes up. It doesn't make any sense because if you have a mole with 3 of the same lasers, you get a buff. The instability of that rock goes lower. Even if they're all 3 of them are arbor lasers, the instability will lower. It's a thing CIG's doing to promote multi-crew gameplay, which I get. And the mole is the more expensive ship.
Yeah, it's true.
But
you're only going to sell one of them instead of 3 mole or 3 Prospectors.
Well, it's about the same price altogether, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, why punish the Prospectors who are? You're doing the same thing. It's a needless punishment. Just incentivize the mole. You know what I mean? You don't need to punish the Prospector for doing that. So I don't agree with that at all. I know some people will probably disagree with me, but I think that's a bad move. They are, yes, as you said, they're redoing all the stats of everything. They're also going to make the mining heads a lot more specific to each type of mineral. So you'll have a certain mining head that's going to be good at Quantanium, a certain mining head good at Laranite, a certain mining head good at Borace, right? Yeah. The cool thing is that you're going to be able to swap those heads around, right? You're going to tractor beam it off, put a new one on. And
we're trying to figure out how to do that exactly. Where are you going to put that mining head in a Prospector so you can get it with your tractor beam? Unless you roll up on another Prospector that has one, then you can swap them out.
The only thing I could really think of, is if you put it in the ship's inventory and you poop out one of them on the ground while you're sitting there.
Yep.
In the living quarters.
Right. Or since we always have somebody out, running defense, I guess we'll have a Cuddy Black and put all sorts of components and stuff inside of that ship so we could take it out as needed.
You could definitely do that as well. So besides all the stats changing, you're going to be able to change all the consumable parts around. They're now grabbable. So you can pull them out of an inventory, put them in your hand, go up there, put it onto the new laser. I believe right now you can take the saddlebags off, but there is nothing to give you a new saddlebag as of yet to put another saddlebag back on. But that's coming. We know that's coming.
Yeah. And anybody who... go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think that's going to make it into 3.19. I think that's going to be a 3.20 feature.
3.20 thing, yeah. But as a lot of you guys know, when you're running consumables like the Surge, you only have, I think it's either 3 or 5 uses of it, and then it's spent. And if you're right in the middle of a good field or something, it'll be so nice to have that in inventory. Go, hey, I'll just pop out and swap it out, jump back in there, and I got 3 more Surges. So I am very happy with that.
They have also changed how the charges work. Some of them have more, some of them has less charges.
Yeah.
So that has changed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they have grouped together rocks in different areas. So like, I don't know for sure. Daymar is going to have Bexolite and iron. Yella's going to have iron and borace, right? And it's supposed to change when if you're mining in the Crusader system. Orison's going to have a lower demand for that stuff because it's closer, but Microtech's going to have a higher demand because those type of minerals aren't going to be, Microtech will have Laranite.
Yeah.
And so you'll make more money by ferrying that stuff over to another station, which is a big deal. I mean, and it's right now, it's significant amount of more money. Like I was seeing up to 150,000 more credits for that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we really got to pay attention to that. And again, that's going to change in 3.20 because we're going to see more economy and quanta being put into the game. Yeah. So lots of those changes coming up.
Yeah, I was also thinking about 320 because that's when the SRV may be coming out. And one of the uses for it is to move the saddlebags. Yeah. So that's just a thought. And you were mentioning the different types of minerals out there. Iron's a new one, folks. Believe it or not, Star Citizen hasn't had iron. So that is a new one coming out. There's another hand mineable. We'll cover that in another video. But yeah.
Janelite.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yep.
I heard it was 26 million if you can get one SCU of it. But
yeah,
that's hours and hours and hours in caves. Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, I'm just hoping at the refinery you can say, hey, I want all of my iron and diamonds and tungsten to go in this ship. And then I want my borace, laranite, and agricium to go in this ship. I hope that they make it so you can start splitting up your stuff and putting it into different ships to be able to send off to different areas. Because if you're going to make more money on iron over in Microtech, why should you have to haul a bunch of other stuff over there that maybe you can make more money on that at ArtCorp?
I don't know that. Is it 100% that iron's coming in?
I'm not sure. I've been hearing iron from a lot of people.
Okay, so well, that'll be new. Yeah. I don't remember hearing about that, but that'll be cool if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Also, Quantanium is going to be even more rare. So if you have a scout ship and they find Quantanium, have them stay there because it's going to be rare to find, which to me is stupid. The reason is because that's quantum fuel, guys. Should it really be that rare? Or should it just be higher risk? I get the rarity of it because it's so expensive, but I just don't agree with that to make it so rare that you could spend 3 to 4 hours and still not find any, or you have to be right in the right area. I'm not, and I know there's a lot of tweaks coming, but man, there's so many changes coming to mining. It's going to be pretty crazy. I don't think you're going to see that split, put this stuff here, put this stuff here, until we get freight elevators.
Yeah.
And if that's coming in 320, awesome. But when that stuff happens, you're going to have to load all that stuff onto your ship yourself. And with your tractor beams, persistent hangers, the whole thing. Once those freight elevators and cargo elevators in the hangar are a thing, you're going to be doing a lot more of that work to your ship yourself. It's really going to be your ship. And that's going to include, hey, I'm going to bring up all the iron I have and stick it in the Cuddy Black, and then I'm going to go store the Cuddy Black, and I'm going to pull up the Caterpillar, I'm going to put all my agricium in there, and whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping, and a
bright future.
Yeah. So yeah, in 319, such as iron, copper, geonite, and more. So those are some new minerals. So yeah.
Well, I think it'll make mining more competitive with salvage, but I still think salvage is going to absolutely
salvage is king. Yeah.
Trounce mining when it comes to money per hour, money per minute. It's still going to be the king until they add in more mechanics to make salvaging more difficult or to change the rate of return, whatever they're going to do. But right now, enjoy it, folks. You don't get to keep the money anyway. It's all going to get wiped at some point, right? So enjoy that. Have fun out there. Good luck with you to mining. To salvaging. I know this last part was a very long part of the video. There will, you know, if you're already here at the end, you know there was little chapter markers in the video. Thank you guys all for watching. Thank you very much. Thank you to our org mates, Kalis47, Ripkey, Bigger Blaster Actual, Tibbs. Who else helped out? Roseman, I think, helped out.
Yeah, Roseman was in there.
I might be forgetting people. Tailgater, I think Professor might have helped out. There's so many people for the org.
Tibbs.
Yeah. If you are interested in joining the org, we run the B team, which is the name of our org, and it's also our Thursday night stream, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. If you're interested in a more chill salvage mining stream, check out Java with Jawa. Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time on Twitch. The B Team streams Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain on YouTube and Twitch. And Jawa and I play at the same time, and we each stream our screens separately, but we're all in the same group. So it's kind of a unique dynamic. It's still we're the only people that do that as far as I know of. So it's kind of our thing. But thank you guys for watching. We have more videos coming out. We're working on a 319 special. We're gathering data right now, and we want to release as soon as 319 comes out. Hey, where can you find all this stuff? What do these new mining heads do? All that stuff, and that'll be another long video. So enjoy that when it comes out. I'll probably put a link in the doobly-doo. We'll have a spreadsheet. It'll be awesome. Thanks for joining me, bud. I appreciate all your help in this. And
no problem. It's always fun, buddy. It's always fun.
I guess we'll see everybody next time.
Yep. Well, we'll see you in the verse. And happy mining.
Salvaging.
Good night.
Good night.